My name is Mary Makoha, but most people in Busia call me Mary REEP. In fact, if you ask for Mary Makoha, you will not get me. But REEP is an organization, it's an NGO, now going to PBO, that I started way off around 1997. And we started off like that time we were actually handling HIV issues. But with time now, we are doing a lot of child protection, especially cases of sexual violence, which are very rampant in Busia in general. Cases of defilement. I received the first case of defilement in 1998. And to date, I'm talking of about 14,000 cases that have actually been brought here that we have handled directly. And you get like in December, during the festive month, it's normally our worst month. Like when some people are even closing up, we don't close. Sometimes we close just for Christmas and then we come back, because in December, that's when you can get even 15 cases in a day. People just calling you, my daughter has been defiled, my child has been defiled, my son has been sodomized, which is also now becoming quite an issue. And I think we have reached that level as a county where we see those cases as very normal. Yeah, it's like, even why are you reporting? Yeah, we have really normalized the cases, and they have even become a way of making money, because we'll get some parents, when their child is defiled, instead of even reporting, they will go to the perpetrator and demand for payment, like kumalizia maneno nyumbani. And then at the same time also, our children in Busia are extremely vulnerable, because we have very weak family setups. You will get like in a home, you will get very many children who live in that home, but their parents are not in that home. Maybe the mother has gone to Nairobi to be a house girl, the father has gone to Bunyala or to fish there, or they just separated and the children were left in the home, or sometimes the children were left with the strangers. I'll just give you a very good example. In my home, I live with like 6 children. I live with 6 children who are not my relatives, but all of them are children who are like survivors of incest. So after that person, that father, that brother, the grandfather who defiled them was imprisoned, their families threw them out. Yeah. Yes, like, you have caused your brother to be imprisoned, so you cannot live in this home. So these children are brought by the police to my house. So you can imagine if today I decided like to abuse them, if I decided to sell them, if I decided to kill them, like, nobody's accounting for those children. They are just there. They were just brought to Mary REEP's home. But my home is not an orphanage. My home is not a shelter, And there are so many other people who are living with children who cannot be accounted for in case of anything. That is very common in Busia. Busia is very patriarchal. So you will get all these women, like when you have a child and then you disagree with the man, you go away and leave the child with the father. And that's where incest has really come in. Because most of these children, when they are abandoned with the father, we have seen fathers defiling their own daughters, like to revenge on the mother. We have seen grandfathers in those homes. We have seen uncles in those homes, like defiling the children. And then you get like, in our culture, we live communally. Let me just give you a very good example. At one time in Matayos, we arrested some like 5 people who had all been defiling a 4-year-old child. But they were all living in one home. There was the brother to the father of this girl. There was the brother to the mother. There was a herdsman. There was a nephew. There was there were just people live in one place, and you get like when you are living like that in one home, in one house, with so many people, so many men living in the home, with small little girls, small boys, in most cases they end up being abused. They end up abusing those children, and yeah, that is one of the reasons. I also want to say, like, as at now, we have cases in Busia that have taken so long in court, as long as 6 years, by the way. Much as we say that cases take 6 months, for me, I think the shortest case that I have handled has taken like 2 years. Yeah, I'm yet to get a case that has taken 6 months. Although in Kenya we say that cases of SGBV take 6 months, but for me, I think my shortest case has taken 2 years. And I can say one of the reasons is that there are so many. And the magistrates in Busia, I thank God that they have given additional courts to Busia. But the magistrates in Busia are actually overwhelmed. Magistrates in Busia are overwhelmed because many times you get a magistrate handling so many cases. So many, like a magistrate can handle maybe just defilement cases alone in a whole day. They have just lined up. I remember one of the magistrates one time, and apparently they were all our cases. So we had like 3 cases defilement. The ones like we had forwarded. So she gave like life, then 20 years. Then there were others still. Do you know, when I saw that magistrate next, she looked depressed, by the way. Yeah, she was not looking okay, because they are human beings. But apart from them being overwhelmed, also we have a lot of issues that interfere with the cases in court. For example, I'll just give you examples. Let me take this case. This is a case of a child who was defiled at age 14. She's now 19, but the case is still in court. And she got pregnant at that age 14. The baby is now like 5 years. She's talking, the baby is going to school, but this case is still in court. Now, and the other day we were told now the case has to be repeated again. There is a lot of interferences in courts in Busia. We have so many brokers. Lawyers really play around to destroy cases. Like, you get a case starts, and then when it's almost being concluded, the perpetrator changes the lawyer, and the new lawyer who comes says they want to start the case afresh. Again, you go with the case, 2-3 years down the line, the perpetrator changes the lawyer. Like, I know I have a case that lawyers have been changed like 4 times. It's one of the old cases in court. And I think anybody can see that's a game. It's a tactic being played. Much as we are saying that the perpetrators have a right, but you can see somebody is actually playing around. And sometimes it goes like that until the victim's family just give up. Yeah, and even when they are doing that, there is a lot of negotiation at home. They are being told, we told you this case will not go anywhere. You see it's being repeated again. You see it's starting afresh, until the victim's family just give up. They stop going to court. Of course, it's very expensive. Transport going to Busia every time, going, and yeah. And then another thing is like this same case that I'm talking about. This case was in court too, those many years ago. But this case was under mention for 4 years. No hearing. It never went to hearing. It never matured to hearing until after that magistrate was transferred. Is when again we wrote a letter to the ODPP and we were told if we could avail all the witnesses in one day. But that case had remained at mention level for 4 years. And then the worst part is that sometimes you have been called for hearing, and then you meet the perpetrator at the gate and he greets you. Yeah, he says hi to the child's father. It's like, oh, ndio umefika, we are finished. Yeah, you can imagine how frustrating it is. You can imagine the emotional, yeah, that goes with it. So even the child is like, tuachane na hii kesi. And I know a young girl who was defiled. She was around 8 years, and she was defiled. And this girl asked me, so the magistrate, the judge, she called him the judge. So the judge has said I lied. I said, no, you didn't lie. Funny enough, when she was 12, she was defiled again. And the girl refused to go and record a statement. She just refused. So you can see people who have even lost faith in the system. You can see people who are like, I cannot get justice. So they have left. And so many families no longer go to court. So many families no longer go to the police to report because they are not getting justice. This other file, this is a girl who was also defiled. This file is so full. This file has everything, including the letter from the school. And the police at a place station called Mungati, they told the grandmother of the child that the file was taken to the ODPP, and it is supposed sadly still at the ODPP. But we came to discover that this file never went anywhere. This file never went anywhere. And that is why at REEP, whenever we have a defilement case, we keep these things. We make sure we get the statement of the child, we get the medical report of the child. So we have our own files here. And at one time, I remember it really helped. There is somebody who defiled a child and ran off to Uganda. He stayed in Uganda for 8 years. In Port Victoria. He stayed in Uganda for 8 years. He came back. When he came back, the police said they cannot locate that file. The police officer who was in charge was transferred, of course, and all that. Then we produced that photocopy, and is what helped this guy to get arrested. The other day I saw the Kenya demographic survey. They had actually said Bungoma was leading. That's what they said. But when you go to Bungoma law courts, you don't get so many cases reported. Today, every time you watch television, you see in Kiambu, you see the other day we had in Nakuru, the other day we had in, was it Githunguri, where a child was killed and buried. Tamara really made me sad. She was killed and buried by somebody who even helped in the search. So these cases are very, very rampant. Very, very rampant. But again, I think the only thing that has made a difference in Busia is that organizations such as REEP, we have kind of really focused on these cases. And one, elsewhere, you will get people don't even know where to report. But you get like in Busia, even chiefs send people here. Even the police, yeah, especially if it is a high profile case. Yeah, you'll get the police telling you, hey, that one, take to REEP. Yeah, that one, take to REEP. I remember there was a time we had this case, a politician. Yeah, it's like an MCA had defiled a child. And whoever told us about that case, I will now say, it was the DCC who was so scared of coming up with it. And he told me, this has happened in my area, but politicians will kill me when they know that I'm the one who has brought it out. Please, you people run off with this case. So you get like these cases are very rampant, but people to document like on daily basis, like this is an office that is just taking in these cases. You get people have a place to go. Elsewhere, we normally like when a child has been killed, that's when you see like wanaharakati come out, they talk about it, and But the cases of defilement are very rampant. Unfortunately, even in Busia, we don't have a political goodwill. We don't have political goodwill, and I can say that there are times when a child has been defiled by a high-ranking person, and you get a phone call from a politician telling you to let it go, telling you to achana na hiyo kesi, telling you that is my person, like the perpetrator is my person, you know. So you get a lot. Even magistrates will tell you that sometimes they receive phone calls like to leave the cases alone, and it is because like in Busia, I will speak for Busia, cases are so rampant, cases are very rampant, but how do I put it? Let me give you a very good example. For example, I had vowed to be a woman rep in Busia, and let me tell you, Emily, me, I don't have scandals. I don't say mimi msafi kama pamba, but I don't have scandals. So what were my opponents saying? If you elect that one, she will send all your men to prison. Yeah, if you elect that one will send your men to prison. So everybody was telling me, you know, Mary, who anafunga wanaume, she takes men to prison. But nobody is looking at it like, what have these men done? The only men I've sent to prison, we have taken to prison, we have taken to court are defilers and rapists. But if that is being looked at as a negative, then what kind of society do we have here? Yeah, well, that should be taken as a very positive thing. So I will tell you that most politicians will never talk about that because watakosa kura. Yeah, because watakosa kura. And even to date, you will get when a child is defiled, like now the good politicians, when a child is defiled, when a woman has been raped, they will call me and tell me, don't mention my name. So why don't you want your name mentioned? Don't let it be known that I'm the one who was reported, because nitakosa kura. When we talk about, I normally talk about impunity, I talk about corruption, and most of the time when we talk about corruption, people imagine it is the police, it is the magistrates, it is the courts. But this corruption starts right from the family. Right from the family. This mother who would rather protect her husband who has defiled their child, this mother who would rather take their child for abortion in pregnancy that has been caused by the father, you know, that woman is very corrupt. That father is very corrupt. As we are sitting here right now, we have a case of a teacher who has impregnated his 17-year-old Form 4 daughter. Right now as we are talking. He has been arrested, yes, and again he was released on bond. But when we were talking to the girl, her mother told her, you cannot be the one to scatter your parents' marriage. Yeah. You know, we are laughing at sadness. Yeah, the mother told her, you cannot be the one to scatter your parents' marriage. You will never be stable in your own life. And then, so I asked the girl, what about what your father has done? And she said, no, you see, as the firstborn, I must sacrifice my life for the sake of the younger ones. Yeah. So it is okay. The father has defiled her, but she's the sacrificial lamb, and she has been made to feel very, very guilty. Yeah. We have child-friendly courts, like let me say like Court 4, which has been mentioned. Court 4 was very friendly. I would say Court 4 was very friendly. One, like you go to Court 4, even the drawings on the wall are very, very friendly. You know, Tom and Jerry, what. The magistrate was very friendly. I remember, I'll not mention her name, but I remember one time I was sitting with a child, like supporting her in court. So I'm sitting with this child in court, and she even went and touched the earring of the magistrate. Yeah, it's like, this earring is very nice. The child was allowed to move, and she was like just walking and touching everything, and like she could go and see the drawings, and yeah, you could see her very friendly, and she was being given time to speak, and she was being, it was not made like it's a court, it was part of like a play game. She was just like answering the questions, and the prosecutor could ask a question and then tell me to ask the child in a child friendly language, you know, in a child friendly language. Like I'll give an example. A child will say, alinifanya tabia mbaya. What is tabia mbaya? What is tabia mbaya? So the prosecutor asked me, like, can you ask her what tabia mbaya is? Can she explain what really happened? And so I asked the child, na hiyo tabia mbaya alikufanya tabia mbaya wapi? And of course the child points at her genitals, and you can see that. But in some courts, and I will say we had a court called Court 2. Saizi Court 2 ni mzuri by the way, but we once had Court 2 in Busia, where one, it was like it is the child actually who is being crucified. They would ask the child very hard questions, and when the child says tabia mbaya, it is like, what is tabia mbaya? Hiyo ni nini? And like they don't give the child time to speak. They are like harassing the child. They are not even protecting the child from the lawyer. I remember one time, and I'm sorry, I don't know whether you will allow me. I remember one time, a lawyer, and it was in court too, asked, like, I asked a girl, because they had said, like she had the redness in her vagina. And then the lawyer asked the girl, kwani what color is your vagina? Yeah. And the magistrate was just there looking. Yeah. I remember, I think I produced a sound in court. I think I produced a sound in court like, yeah, yeah. So you get magistrates who don't even protect the child from the lawyers, who will not be like, you will not ask a child such a question. You get like at one time, I remember I had a 6-year-old, and she had been defiled. And the first thing the perpetrator asked her was like, am I the first man to sleep with you? Apart from me, how many others have you slept with? And I will talk about this in 2 courts. In court 4, that guy was really scolded and told you cannot ask a child such a question. In court 2, the magistrate just ignored. Yeah. And so the child is looking like, yeah, what kind of a question is this? The child wants to cry, and it's like, everybody's like, jibu. You know, that, so that really shows what a child-friendly court looks like. A child-friendly court is that court that will allow the child to cry, and you let her cry, finish, you can even adjourn and come back. But a child and friendly court will be like, hatutaki machozi, and you'll hear a lawyer saying, hatutaki machozi, we jibu tu swali, hapa si mahali pa kulia. Do you know what this child went through? Emily, I normally see these children, like, they are brought here sometimes bleeding, they are brought here oozing, they are brought here. I've taken some children to hospital where even the parents fear carrying them. Yeah, a child just oozing, and they are stinking, very bad things have been done to them. And so when you are telling the child that hatutaki machozi, we jibu tu. Or you hear a lawyer telling a child like, unajua kama if you are a good girl, this would not have happened to you. Yeah, when the perpetrator called you, kwani what were you thinking? Yeah, is it like when somebody calls you, they are going to rape you? Yeah, is it now my problem? Yeah. And the magistrates need to protect such victims from even the lawyers. Yeah, one of the things that I have realized that really cause trauma to the child, and I will say right from the time when this act happens, you will get like this child has been defiled in the village. Yeah? So when it happens in the village, their parent or the community will come to ask the child like what happened. So the child will tell the story to the community. Normally many people, the child will tell the story what happened. We go to hospital, the child will tell the story again. Maybe they come to REEP, the child will tell the story again. We go to the police, the child will tell the story again. We go to court, the child will tell the story again. And then as long as this case has not been concluded, here at REEP we normally have, we call it a therapy. Yeah, we have one-on-one where we shall talk to the child, counsel the child at individual level. Then we have group therapies. And as long as you can imagine, when a case is taking 5 years in court, you know we have to keep this child reminded because she has not talked in court. She has not talked in court. So every time we shall be with her, we shall be asking her, Mary, tell me what happened. Tell me when you go to court, what happened? What happened? So we are just like reminding her every time for 5 years. Yeah. Otherwise, if a child has been defiled at the age of 4, she's likely to forget. She was defiled at the age of 4. She speaks at the age of 6, 7 years. She will forget what happened. She will forget colors. She will forget the color of the panty she was wearing. She will forget what this person was wearing, what he looked like, what he told her. So you have to keep on reminding this child. You have to keep on reminding this child. You have to keep on reminding this child, which really causes. Remember, there is a girl who told us, I will not talk again. Yeah, because she had said, she had written her statement. When again now she was being asked, when she went to the hospital, she told the doctor, me, I will not talk. Yeah, I will not talk. And she was telling them, you tell them what I told you. And do we blame that child? We cannot blame that child. Yeah, and it is because our systems are not working. It is because our systems are not working. If only somebody could fast track those SGBV cases so that this child can go talk, and then after talking, she can now be guided through healing. Yeah, if only this child, like, we are advocating that this child speaks during this time when the person is taking the plea. Yeah, let the child speak. Let the child speak at plea level. Speak, then forget it, then we start taking the child through healing. Some of the children that we have who get pregnant, and sometimes you have to remove them from the community, maybe take them to a shelter for pregnant girls. It becomes very difficult, where again you have to bring the child all the way from Nairobi, from Kiserian, from where we have shelters, to come to court. You get the court is not sitting on that day. She goes back to Nairobi again. Yeah, it becomes very expensive. If I was given an opportunity, if I was the Chief Justice, or for that matter the President of this country, one, I would take cases of defilement very seriously, because honestly, I feel the seriousness is lacking. Honestly, I feel the seriousness that these cases deserve is totally lacking. I'm saying that because in Kenya, we are very fond of talking big. Yeah, I'll say that. In Kenya, we are very fond of talking big. And I will speak just like here at REEP. Here at REEP, who has not visited REEP? We had the presidential gender advisor who came and promised heaven. We have had the senators who came and promised heaven. We have had the ministers, the CS gender, we have had the PS gender, we have had all these people come and promise, they come and promise, they come and talk big. But again, I ask, so what after speaking big? We had 16 days of activism here, and everybody talked like they are going away and we shall just see things correcting themselves. Because when they come, we tell them these things. They come, we tell them, they even meet the victims, they meet the survivors. But when they go back, they come, talk big, the media records what they say, the media like posts what they say, we see it on television. But after that, so what? We still remain the way we were, na shida zetu, with our problems, and nobody does anything. So if I were the president, if I were the CS, if I were the CJ, I would take things more serious, a bit more serious than they have taken. And Kenya, for me, I say we have very good laws. We have very good policies, the Children's Act, the New Children's Act, everything. But we do not implement those things. We do not implement our own law. I'm told the constitution of Kenya has been borrowed by other countries. And those countries are great using our constitution, but we don't take those things seriously. And another thing, if I was in position, if I was in power, I would ensure that these cases take 6 months. The way we say, by word of mouth, I would ensure these cases take 6 months. A place like Busia requires so many courts tumeongezewa, but I don't know whether that will make any difference. And above all, I would ensure impunity, corruption, especially on SGBV cases, that anybody, any police officer, any chief, any magistrate, anybody interfering with SGBV cases, honestly, they would not be in my government, they would not be in my system. Let us ensure that systems are working. Let us ensure that somebody is held accountable. Somebody is held accountable, because people are never held to account. And then you get maybe a teacher or a police officer defiling a child. And what we do, we transfer them. So you transfer the problem. These are people who should not be near children. These are people who should not even be in the community out there. But we just transfer. Yeah. And you get today people who are like cases that succeed, maybe where somebody goes to prison. They are the poor people. But the rich, I said we have had a case of an MCA who defiled a child. We have had teachers who have defiled children. We have had big religious people who have defiled children. But those cases just collapse. Those cases they fizzle out. Some of them are never concluded. And yet we are leaving behind in the community people who are traumatized, parents who are traumatized, children who have lost trust in the system, people who have lost trust in our laws, because the law does not help them. Yeah.